Tachyons mean nothing to a bird of prey. Rutherford rips off his implant, and Lieutenant Shax can't detonate the warp core. Unless he really deserves it. Which he probably does. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Sirach Lofton.
Hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're doing a review of Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5, Episode 10. Oh, that's the finale. It's going to be a sad one. Written by Mike McMahon, the legend, beloved forever. Directed by our pal, Meg Lloyd. How you doing today, Sirach?
I'm doing great. A little bittersweet because it's the last episode. It's a series finale, right? Not a season finale. So
yeah,
a little bit bittersweet for us because we got close to these characters over the year, and I actually noticed the growth in this episode more so than any other. I think before this episode really signified their transition from it's like that moment when you go from when people start calling you young man, hey young man, because you're transitioning over into that. You're not a kid anymore, you know what I mean? And I feel like they started out more childish in the beginning of this series, and we see the maturing and the maturation of how each character has kind of fell into themselves, discovered themselves, battled themselves, kind of how you go through when you're in adolescence. You're discovering who you are. I feel like this show was about Boimler discovering who he is, about about Rutherford, about Mariner, Tendi discovering herself. I think it's really, this show has shown growth in each character's journey.
Yeah, and it's hard not to look at this episode as like a full overview of the series because it felt like, and we know this isn't true, but it felt as though when they were writing this episode, they knew it was the final episode because there was so much change, right? We have a new captain. The captain has a new, promotion. She's now like basically going to be an admiral or an overseer. She felt to me like a Captain Sisko, right? Going over to a space station to oversee these missions into a wormhole. I was like, whoa, this is like a full-scale nod to Deep Space Nine. Then you have Boimler and Mariner being like executive officers, first officers, which is kind of weird, but also funny. And then Tendi and Rutherford kind of get even closer to being, admitting to each other they love each other, and Rutherford is now a new person without a cybernetic implant. Like everybody changed, and it felt like an end of an era. It felt like a new beginning. It felt like a turning of the page, a closing of the chapter. And so now I understand why they would say, and Mike McMahon kept saying, like, if this has to be the end, we're comfortable with how it ended. Like, I don't remember what the exact quote was, but he did say like that the end of this season was such a good fitting end and a closing of a book that if this has to be the series finale, it's a good one.
Yeah, they tied up a lot of the loose ends. They gave us kind of a sunset on a lot of different storylines. They gave us a sunset, a little kind of right out into the sunset moment with Rutherford and Tendi, kind of the thing that we as the audience have been cheering for the whole time, for them to kind of get together or at least acknowledge that they have these feelings for each other.
I actually caught myself. It was kind of embarrassing, but like when he started turning red and all that stuff happened, I was actually like, oh, good. Finally, they're going to get together. I'm like, Ryan, get a hold of yourself. Like, because I don't usually care about, like, are they finally going to kissy poo? But these two, I'm like really rooting for them. I'm like, come on, you can do it. Get in there, bro.
Yeah, because they get along so well. And, it's like, clearly they have chemistry. They're both passionate about their work. They love what they do. It felt like a good match. And they finally kind of started to touch on that on the final of this episode, leaving us with the idea that that relationship that you were hoping for this whole time is actually going to manifest, as going forward, which we won't see, but it gives you that hope. Um, yeah, Boimler kind of going into his own, breaking that tablet, and kind of finding his own identity and saying, basically getting off crutches. He was using alternate universe Boimler as a crutch to help him prop up his own identity and
Hmm.
who he was in his own reality. And him going through that process of saying, all right, you know what? I don't need that anymore. Even though the line was funny when Mariner says, "You were so handsome and cool." Like, I thought that was funny. Like,
I know. It's like Mariner,
uh,
calm down. Like,
yeah,
don't give this guy any ideas, man.
yeah, well, also, like, be supportive that he's willing to break that dependency on that pad. He couldn't even order a drink without the pad. She's like, "What do you want to drink?" He's like, I'll have a something called a bramble."
Yeah.
Remember? Which I thought that was a funny, like, like, you don't even know yourself, where you had to read what you're going to drink. So that to me was funny. That's Mike McMahon's clever writing. He had a lot of those moments in this episode where you could see Mike McMahon's genius and how he puts lines together with situations. He's just really excellent at scenarios and saying that awkward, funny thing at that moment.
Yeah.
Uh,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. No, I was, no, I'm going to go into Shax and Tahan a little bit later, but
Mm. Yeah.
because he loves that too.
Well, let's actually, what's wrong with Shax and Ta'ana right now? Like, she's fully in love with him. He's
Yeah,
hilarious. That's another couple that we just, I can't get enough of those two. I know a lot of people were saying they want more Shax and Ta'ana. You are one of them.
yeah,
I'll never get enough of those two. Anytime Shax opens his mouth, I'm happy. And anytime Ta'ana
yeah.
opens her mouth, Shax is happy. But either way, like,
Yeah, yeah. They had some great little moments in this. I thought that was funny. Where she says, "Do you want to go to Sexy Treasure Island on the holodeck?" As long as I get to be Long John and whatever they bleeped out.
Yeah, I know. I was like, wait, what did it? I couldn't figure it out. I was trying to guess. I'm like, what is Long John? I don't know.
uh,
I'm not gonna.
but yeah, a lot of things in this episode I thought that were really good. Like having Rutherford take that implant out and him having, that's a big change for him. You could see that going forward, him altering his character some to a big degree because he doesn't, basically a new character. So if they were to bring the show back, I'd like to see those things too as well, right?
Totally. And like you said, I feel like the word of the day is growth. Like
Yeah.
there was quite the arc for all these characters, and this was the final big step and there was a lot of growth. There was more growth in this episode than any other. I mean, they did get promoted to lieutenant junior grade, but I mean, Rutherford getting rid of his implant is bigger than a field promotion or a promotion, in his career, I would think.
Yeah.
And Captain Freeman, my first thought was, man, the possibilities are endless. She has her own crew and her own space station, and she's overseeing a ship, and it's like the Freemans in space. They're reunited. I'm like, whoa, there is so much that can happen. No wonder Don Lewis is like, I do not want this show to end, because they're just reopening a whole new world of possibilities for her character. It's beautiful. I think it's amazing. And Ransom's going to be a hilarious captain. He's basically going to be Kirk.
Yeah, and that made me even think like they could have done that storyline even sooner. Like, Ransom getting promoted to captain and Freeman moving up. They could have actually done that the end of fourth season, and this whole fifth season could have had Ransom, and that would have thrown things off a little bit, but it would have been interesting to see the journey, like
Totally.
everybody getting a promotion and how that works out. But so I like that idea. I like the Ransom promotion. It could have been done, like I said, last season, just to see how that would have mixed up, changed up the mix for this season.
I did find
Uh,
myself saying who's going to be the captain now when it showed Freeman getting her promotion. I'm like, come on, we know it. You know, I was like, maybe it's Ransom, but I kind of expected somebody new to come in. But no, it was
I was
Ransom,
expecting somebody new
and I
too.
thought that
I
that
thought
ended
somebody.
up working
Yeah.
out. I was like, okay, actually that works. That's funny. Everybody likes him. You know, everybody likes Jerry O'Connell too. You know, so I'm like that's a good that works out for me.
It worked out for me too. Yeah, no, I totally bought it. Um, but he also had other moments here in this episode. Ransom's been a funny character in general because of how he is so self-centered and all about working out.
Quads.
Yeah, quads, and he seems a little bit oblivious or clueless to some things, right?
Hmm.
So that makes for good comedy as far as being a captain. Um, they also gave us a lot of ship porn in this episode. So like that whole,
Yeah.
the ship had one nacelle in the beginning, and
And
then it
then
went
Tendy
over and
nerded out on it. That was funny. And then Captain Freeman's like,
yeah,
Tendy, we don't have time to nerd out on this. And that
yeah,
was very funny.
yeah. Actually, one nacelle can create a warp bubble, which is like, all right, that's enough of that. But then they got the Terran Empire Cerritos, the Sovereign class. They just kept giving us a whole bunch of like, for those people that like to see the ships getting displayed and animated, or just in general like ship shots. There's the whole feeling in separate category just on ship shots, right? External, exterior ship shots.
Totally.
Uh,
And we
is
got
a
an
big part of Star
Enterprise
Trek.
or a
Yeah,
Galaxy class. It turned into a Galaxy class ship for a
right.
moment there. I mean, it was beautiful to see. And Mike McMahon and company, they give the fans what they want. You know, they give them their ship shots, as you say it.
Yeah.
The exterior ship shots are incredible. They've been incredible since day one. It almost looks like a
Yes.
different animation team that does the exteriors and the ships and all
But I
that.
like it though. I
It
like
looks
that though.
gorgeous. It's just
Yeah,
amazing. Um, so
I like it.
I,
Yeah.
I just think that this was such a great way to end the series, if in fact it is ending. And I would love to see another. This just makes me want to see another season more, though, because I want to see what goes on with Freeman and all that. I want to know what's with all these new situations with Tendy and Rutherford, with Boimler and Mariner, with Ransom as the captain. Like with Tendy and Talin. Suddenly, there's just this whole. It's like they reshuffle the deck, which you kind of need to do every season. You can't just keep trotting out the same thing, or people are going to get tired. But they reshuffled it, and then it ended. Bummer.
Yeah, and there were other moments there. Like they Mike threw in a whole bunch of techno babble garbage in this episode, which was hilarious. He started off with the corbopple. It's like, oh, we need the corbopple
Yeah,
one,
whatever.
and you could tell he's just totally hamming it up. And then another one later on, he said it can easily be fixed with a subspace gluonic beam. Oh,
yeah,
like a gluon, the
yeah the
gluonics.
the gluonic thing. I think they had that in the previous episode too, because I remember trying to type that, and I'm like, how am I going to spell gluonic? And I just
Yeah,
kind of guessed. Um,
yeah. But it's such a BS thing. It's like a glue. Oh, fix space with that gluonic thing.
the tape thing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Hey, we've got something special for everybody at home. Our second segment in just a couple minutes is going to be a free for all with a bunch of our supporters and commander level people, so that they can give their 2 cents on this final episode of Lower Decks, because there's really so much to talk about, and we really can't help but be like, reminiscent of these 5 years. It only started in 2020, so it's actually been going on less than 5 years, but it's been every single year since 2020. So we'll definitely be doing that, looking back on these last few years, and it's been an amazing time. But before we do that, let's give it one more home run of the day for old time's sake, Sirach.
Yeah, old time's sakes. Home run. Mike McMahon.
Yeah.
He gave us 5 seasons of a great show. arguably the best animated show for Star Trek. I would say it's not even really an argument, to be honest with you, from my perspective. It's the best animated Star Trek show, um, period. It's given us laughs. It's been able to make fun of itself. It's launched careers for somebody like Tawny, who I think is just super fabulous, and I think is
Yes,
just going to
sir.
keep rising new heights. We got a chance to have all of the Megan Lloyds and all of the people that we've met on this show that I felt are just awesome people. The Brandons,
Mhm.
just it's just a bunch of people on this show that have given us great pleasure, amazing references to all of the shows from the original series to Deep Space Nine. I think got more mentions in this show than any other show, so we
So many.
grateful for that. And yeah, Mike McMahon, just I see why he's you know where he is in the animated world, because he delivers and he delivers quality product. So kept us laughing, and I appreciate him for it. So yeah, the home run goes to Mike McMahon.
Yeah, as soon as I asked it, I was like, obviously the answer is Mike McMahon. I mean, what a superstar, what a genius, what a fan, what a friend to the fans that gives the fans what they want. I mean,
Yeah,
there's no way we can cover all the compliments that we should cover for him. So I'm just not going to try. Everybody knows how great he is, and we appreciate him. Secondarily, you mentioned her, Tanya. I was noticing again this episode what a natural voiceover artist she is. She makes all of the lines her own. She delivers things as if they're just spitting out of her mouth, not like she's read them on a piece of paper. An incredible natural talent. It's so obvious why Mike McMahon chose her. It probably was the easiest decision he's ever made, or certainly the happiest decision he's ever made once he saw how great his decision was. So that's great, and that's easy.
yeah.
Here's an easy decision, too. Let's give a special thanks to these people. Their names are Homer Frizzell, Dr. Anne Marie Siegel, Eve England out in Wales, who makes gingerbread cookies. She made one of the Cerritos, too. It was pretty amazing. Hopefully, we'll have that on the other side in the free-for-all. Yvette Blackman, Tom, TJ, Jackson Bay out in Missouri, Titus Moeller, Dr. Mohammed Noor, Tierney C. Diekman, Anil O. Palat, Joe Bow, Sarati Mike Goo, Dr. Stephanie Baker, Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, Edward Foltz, My Life from Tokyo, the Matt Boardman, Chris McGee, Justin Weir, Jake Barrett, Henry Unger, Allison Leach Hyde, Julie Manasfi, Jed Thompson, Dr. Susan V. Gruner, Glenn Iverson, Dave Gregory, Tim Baum, Chris Sternett, Greg K. Wickstrom, and of course, the Cerritos' own Jason Oken and Chris Garris. All right, some of those people are going to be on the other side. We've got a free-for-all coming up. We're going to give a lot of love to this show. We'll be right back on The Seventh Rule. Hey, everybody, welcome back to The Seventh Rule with Sirach Lofton. This is the free-for-all with Melissa Longo.
Hey.
And Jason M. Oken, who coordinated with Melissa for their backgrounds.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Eve England is out in Wales. Allison Leach Hyde is here wearing an awesome flannel. Carrie Schwent, cool background on your part as well. TJ Jackson Bay cosplays Homer every once in a while. Chris Garris is in Texas, if you can believe that. And Homer Frizzell is cosplaying himself. All right. Here's something fun. We did not.
Homer.
Yeah. Very. We did not do the trivioids yet, so very quickly, here are the trivioids of the week. Let's find those, because they're super important. Tachyons mean nothing to a bird of prey. The Cerritos is enjoying a little downtime. Boimler wants to try something called a bramble. Barg and Dorg were weak. Klingons hardly ever update their ships. Want to get strong? Do high-intensity interval training. Rutherford rips off his implant. Carol Freeman gets a new gig. Ransom gets a promotion. And Lieutenant Shax can't detonate the warp core. Unless he really deserves it. All right. Did we get any non-appearance mentions today, you guys? I got 4.
Kalis.
It's one. Barg and Dorg, because they were in previous episodes.
Oh, right.
And Kirk. Remember she said, won't Kirk like figure something out to swipe, do it sneaky like Kirk or something like that? Is that what she said? Anything else?
What would they sell at a store named Barg and Dorg?
Onions.
Sounds like a liquor store.
It's a liquor store?
Yeah.
It sounds like a bookstore, actually. Bargs and Dorgles.
Sounds like a department store in New York. Bergdorf.
Bergdorf Goodman.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Melissa Longo, why don't
Bergdorf
you get us
Goodman.
started off on the right track? Let us know what you think of Onions and this episode.
Yeah.
And this series, by the way.
I'm not a huge fan of Onions, just putting that out there. Yeah, not a huge fan. And this episode, I was disappointed by this episode, and I'll tell you why. I'm disappointed because it's the last episode. It should not be the last episode, because this series is so good. It's so well written. It's so well put together. It's such great Star Trek. We get these wonderful, well-rounded characters that I am so invested in, and we get adventures, we get hope, I feel every single emotion when I'm watching this show, not just laughter. I've cried, I've gotten angry, I've laughed. It's made me feel things, and it has inspired me to find that hope in me going forward, like Star Trek always has in the past. And I love this show for that. This show has one of my favorite Star Trek captains ever. I think Captain Freeman is a fantastic captain. And I'm excited to see, or I would love to see, the kind of captain that Ransom would be. And I love his make the ship go line, engage the core. I love that. And I love the way that this show explored family and friendship and teamwork and all of the hard stuff, without getting too mired down in wallowing in self-pity. So yeah, I love this show, and I wish it would stick around. I don't want to see it go, because I believe that it could go a whole lot further.
Sirach famously said in the first season that this is a show that could go 10 seasons easily, and it definitely could, but it's a kind of a bummer that it won't. Unless it does. It might. Well, thanks very much, Melissa Longo. Heartfelt as always. Jason M. Oken, you always give very heartfelt reviews yourself. What do you think of this episode and series?
I do, and yes, I guess we're wrapping up not just the season, not just the episode, but the entire series. And I think overall, I think Lower Decks is at its best when it embraces what it is, when it embraces the medium that it's in, and gives us a very nice balance of character, humor, and Star Trek values. And I think you see a lot of that here. I mean, it goes from something that almost looks like Saturday morning fun with mustache twirling villains and laughs at the very beginning, to using terms like bifurcated, and it becomes kind of more adult and more grown up and more Star Trek as it goes. Maybe Lower Decks is not a full meal, but it's certainly kind of a rich side dish that you have with the rest of Star Trek, and it's nice to see that. It's it does things other shows cannot do, and that's why we watch it. I mean, you look at all the characters, and and there's growth for all of them in the 5 seasons. And we see some of that actually happen quite a bit, even in this last episode. and that's terrific. And at some level, at some level, I think the final episode is a microcosm of the entire series. You do get this balance. You do get sort of callback references to everything. Interestingly enough, I think in the final episode, it's more visual than anything else. We get sort of the starship porn going through the end of the episode, and we kind of get sort of visual references to things here. Things are dropped, sometimes a mile a minute. Here, it's a little bit more subtle. Things like, kudos to a person who decided to put a bar on the starship, which is, called back to season 2 of The Next Generation. So again, it's at its best when it's a little bit subtle. And I think it is a pity that it's over. It certainly has its place in the Star Trek world. And, a good thing about animation is that it can always come back. And maybe it will.
Here's hoping. Well, thanks very much, Jay Snoken. I always feel like this might be your favorite of the new series, but we'll see. Kind of. It's tough from that reaction.
You just said it was a side piece. It's a side piece.
Yeah, but he meant compared to the original series and Next Generation, Deep Space Nine. It's not Short Trek's side piece. All the way out in Wales, looking festive as always. What do you think of this episode and series?
Yeah, I mean, I would completely echo what Melissa and Jason just said about, it's just really sad that it's not being continued. It's certainly, from my perspective, is certainly the best Star Trek that's on at the moment by a million miles. And it just feels like, you just don't feel like you get bored at all with it. And I was talking to James, I was like, I can't believe it's been on for as long. It just feels so fresh every week. It's just super fresh. Every season is so fresh. So totally agree with everything that's been said. But in terms of the episode itself, I think I thought it was a really good finale. It kind of brought everything together in a satisfying way. They sort of left you sort of wanting a bit more, but it kind of closed off all of those things that, so you weren't left sort of hanging, wanting sort of more and thinking you might not ever get that. So I really liked that. But I loved how they kind of still focused on the main characters as the focus. There's often a danger in finales that they get too big and too crazy, and you sort of lose the essence of the characters. But I loved how they did focus on the main characters, but they then also brought in the wider ensemble of the crew, and how you almost had the whole family, as Melissa was saying, everyone was together, everyone was brought into that last episode, and how they all worked together just to move the plots forward. So I thought that was really, really cool how they did that. I loved all the action shots. As Jason said, it was just really visual. I thought it was just really impressive how they did it. All the colors were just amazing. I love the music. I haven't really noticed the music in lots of the other episodes, but this one just really sort of stuck with me, as it was almost like a mini movie. I thought that was really cool. And I just sort of, and I think, just echo again, I just feel really sad. It's completely gutted that it's over. It's going to be really sad not seeing Boimler just freaking out and that ridiculous scream that he has. I'm just so going to miss that. I'm just going to so miss all the profanity bleeping, which just cracks me up every single time they use it. It's sad. But then when I was taking a step back and I watched it, I was like, okay, this is really sad. But one thing I have got to look forward to is being able to go back and rewatch it when we finish TNG, so that I can probably get way more out of it than I have so far, not getting most of the references that, as we've gone through watching it. So I am really looking forward to having the opportunity to go back and actually experience it all at another different level. So it's a sad day, but at the same time, I think in a year or so's time, I think I'll be able to go back to it and get way, way more out of it. So I'm excited for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eve England out in Wales. That is great perspective. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Allison Leach Hyde is here. What's up, Allison? How's New Mexico? And what do you think of Lower Decks? Uh-oh, your audio is a little messed up. Try unplugging and plugging back in for a second. Okay, we'll come back to you. We will go to Carrie Schwent, aka Crafty Bear. What's up, Carrie? What do you think of this one?
kind of echoing everybody's sad because I want more, but I always want more. It's why I love soap operas so much, especially the ones that are still on, decades and decades later. Why I rewatch things over and over again because I don't want the story to ever end. But if it's all we get, pretty good ending. I have couple questions that the episode brought up. We've got another open rift / portal. I'm thinking to myself, okay, the portal from the end of season 2 of Picard says, "Hey, welcome to the club. At least you get a space station next to your open portal. We've got these fun Borg watching ours." But it was whoever designed it. It was beautifully, absolutely beautiful, nice crisp lines. I appreciate that kind of thing. And something else at the end of the episode that had me thinking: have Beckett and Ransom hooked up at some point? Because he walks up to her and says, "Is this gonna be a problem?" So, yeah, the that part of my brain wonders, but his captain's phrase, so completely on brand for him. I was hearing it was hysterical. Beckett's reaction to it is just chef's kiss perfect. But there were so many things about the episode that had me smiling. We got a blink and you miss it of the Discovery Klingons. Laurel's white outfit.
Yeah.
So cute. I wanted to hear Mary Chieffel's voice so badly, but we didn't. But at least we got to see a Klingon that looked very much like her. So yay there. Drax and Ta'ana's relationship, I just find absolutely fascinating. I love. I enjoy how much they enjoy going to the holodeck and having their adult fun. And I actually recognized the Schrodinger reference thanks to my repeated watchings of the Big Bang Theory. Thank you, Sheldon Cooper. I know what Schrodinger is, so I absolutely got that, and I'm so happy that I got that. The Rutherford blushing is adorable. I didn't know I'm so happy that he blushed. Candy was so loving it, and Rutherford's like, "Nope, I gotta get out of here and calm down a bit." The guy that fell through the ceiling into sickbay. That's the guy from a couple seasons ago who ascended and saw the koala bear.
Is that right? Very good.
Yeah.
Right.
I was wondering what that was.
Yeah, I saw the look on his face and thought, wait a minute, maybe. And yeah, look at yeah. So he got. I wonder what he did. Wherever he ascended to, that they kicked him out because he looked like he had been through it. His uniform looked a little singed and whatnot. The seance to revive the ghost candle. I'm a little sad we won't get to that episode of TNG for a while because I will have much about that episode when we get to it. But that as soon as I saw the candle light up, I'm like, yeah. So, yeah, but we will get to that. But no, I love the series so much. I don't watch a lot of animated things anymore. Not for ages, but decided to try this one. And before the opening credits rolled the first time, it had me. I was laughing so hard even before the credits started rolling. It definitely become probably my favorite series. I can see it becoming a go-to if I'm sad and need a pick-me-up, kind of like where Gilmore Girls lives in my head. I go watch that for a good pick-me-up, something to make me laugh. And I did create a limerick, and it was inspired by the Captain Freeman saying, "Okay, people, brace for weird," and because I am weird, that's naturally my brain latched onto that for the limerick. So I will finish with that. Okay, now people, let's brace for the weird. If we make it, we can all go get beer. There's not much of a plan, but it's time to take a chance. For saving us all, we might be revered.
Nice. Very good. Thank you very much. Carrie Schwent, a toast to Lower Decks, she says. TJ Jackson Bay is out in Missouri. What's up, TJ? What do you think of this one? And series, you love it.
Of course I do. And I also, unlike Melissa, love onions and onion rings. And definitely, yeah, look at her. She doesn't like them. I'll have them and you can't have any.
Go for it.
We've talked about, this is the series finales of a show that we all love. But I want to, just really take the opportunity to say thank you to Mike McMahon and all the crew and all the cast for bringing us this show that's taken us on this journey. That's why we love it. And so I'm happy for the journey, that we've been on with this group. We've got, Don Lewis, we brought back Alfred Woodard, we brought back Jolene, so many people, Tawny Newsome, all the people that we see, at the conventions. I've seen, Tony and Eugene do improv. That's been a great experience. I've heard Gabrielle Ruiz sing. And if you haven't, then I'm sorry, but you don't know what heaven is, because her voice is it when she sings. And so, I'm grateful, for all that this has brought, not just to the entertainment, but to the Star Trek family and the people that we get to interact with as a result, of Lower Decks. And that just adds to all that the show is. So I'm grateful for that. Cassia Knox is probably one of my favorite characters ever in Star Trek for just her few minutes in Lower Decks. I love her attitude. I love her spirit. That's who I want to be when I grow up, is Cassia Knox. And I appreciated this episode too. I thought it was very fun. It's a very fun way to close out the show. It tied up a lot of storylines. It moved the characters forward. As Jason mentioned, everybody grew in this episode, even just in this episode. But we got to see, a contrast between who they were, when we met them and who they, became as, the Cerritos flies away from Starbase 80. I enjoy getting to see, the Klingon birds of prey and yet another, Klingon sibling that's mad at the world and wants to attack the Federation because their sibling, got killed in some kind of honorable battle or dishonorable battle or whatever happened. And, that just reminded me of really that the Klingon Empire isn't really, one full empire. So they have a treaty with the Klingon Empire, but they're always getting attacked and getting into fights with these various houses and various factions. And, we talked about a Discovery reference. That's why I'm on the Discovery Bridge. But I thought that was also a Discovery reference because that really told the story of really the Klingon aren't really an empire. They have these houses and they just kind of loosely work together. And you hope that all the houses will fall in line, but they don't always do so. So we got to see a touch of that in this episode. Someone already mentioned the ghost sex candle, so that story's told. But I think was Carrie that mentioned, maybe, Beckett and Ransom, had a thing going on, but the real ship of the ship, I think, was after Rutherford got rid of his cybernetics, he realizes how he feels for Tendi, and I'm glad that they left that, as it is, where it is, that they didn't, say what's going to happen or all of that stuff. We know that they're also, best friends. And I think stringing that along through every season and kind of wondering, are they going to realize that, that they have this kind of tension and chemistry going on and actually acknowledge that. I like the way that they close that off with Rutherford just blushing and tripping all over himself. I thought that was really funny. And because we all knew it all along. I think I've been saying it since season 1. And again, I'm glad that they kept the tension and didn't ruin it. So wonderful way to close that story off as well. So with all of that said, I could talk about Lower Decks all day. Again, thanks Mike McMahon. Thanks, all the crew. Definitely, Don Lewis, who would have ever thought, oh my God, I'm so glad I got to meet her in San Francisco. I hope I get to see her again this year in about a month, a little over a month now. Looking forward to that. But for the time being, I'm just going to go find one of these fissures and go through to where Lower Decks is still in the air.
Very nice. Very nice. Yes, you will see Don Lewis in San Francisco with Sirach Lofton there as well. We're looking forward to seeing you, pal. All right, Allison Leach Hyde, what's up with your audio? Is it better?
Is it? Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Yay!
All right.
As someone
So what
who
do you
never
think?
uses an external mic, I had to put them in.
Sounds great.
So, what did I think of this episode and series? I really enjoyed this episode for all the reasons everyone had said. I love that we were with our main crew, and I loved Captain Freeman the entire time going, are you sure the Enterprise can't be here to do this? Are you sure you want us to do this? Like, you've been telling us for the past 4 years that we can't do stuff like this, but we will, but are you sure? So I loved that bit. And of course, getting more in depth of Boimler, getting the message from the other Boimler, and then just freaking out and running away and screaming in the background, and everyone going, what's going on? And then them all being mad at other Boimler, like, why would you do this to us? Like, I love that because it was truly showing their friendship and how they've grown. And I mean, sad, of course, that was ending, but loved everything that they got to do together and just seeing everyone's growth. Like, again, I'm going to talk about Captain Freeman some more because I love her. And whenever Mariner would go, you have to trust me, Mom. I didn't do this. She's like, I know you didn't do this. Don't worry about it. And that's such a great thing to show children and parents and big kids with parents that, yeah, we still get to grow and our parents can pay attention and see the growth we make. And I also love that there was a little bit of a caveat at the end that Mariner has grown, but not completely. She still set her bed on fire. Like, yes, like there's still some wild child in there that she's working on, but she isn't hiding Klingons in the ship anymore. So I do really, really love that. And Science Besties with the action sequence of them both hitting the button to stop the bifurcation. Great animation, was beautifully done. I thought that was great. Made me giggle because those two having, high emotional intensity and very internal emotional intensity together has been the best besties ever. So really enjoyed that. And Boimler with the beard is rocking it, and I hope he keeps it for a while.
For a moment, though, when he had that full beard, I was like, wait, are we seeing like another different Boimler from a different, but I was like, okay, I guess that's him. Look good. Chris Garris is out in Texas. Chris, we see you, but are you able to tell us what you think of this episode? Chris Garris in Texas.
Maybe we're going to hear from
All
the
right.
school board.
That's okay, because he wrote something for us. But Homer Frizzell is here right now, and he's ready to tell us what he thought of Lower Decks, the series and episode.
Yes. Chris wrote no. So I love the show. I love the journey. It's the kind of show where you don't mind taking that journey again. Whereas for some shows, it's a slog and you only want to do that once. This is the kind of show you can go back through. You can pick up visual references. You can pick up some stuff that you missed in the dialogue. You can sort of like, oh, wait, that refers to this. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I think most people have covered what I would talk about briefly, the journey of the characters, the growth, which is, of course, I think it never happens in an animated show. I don't recall The Simpsons really growing and evolving all that much, for example. Not that I don't know if they finished that. But anyway, there is that growth. So I love it. Fun. I'm going to go back through and do it again. It was solid throughout. A couple episodes maybe weren't as great, but overall, freaking amazing. And it was a lot of fun.
Beautiful. All right, so here's Chris Garris's prepared statement. Let's pull that up. It goes a little something like this. The moment Starfleet Command announced what needed to be done to close the rift, Captain Freeman let out a sigh of relief when they assured her that no Cali-class ship would ever be tasked with handling such a mission. But with the Enterprise unable to arrive in time, the Cerritos was left to deal with it. I couldn't help but laugh at the irony. For once, the Enterprise wasn't the closest ship. So why is it always the Enterprise that's expected to save the day? This episode was packed with references, making it nearly impossible to keep track of them all. Here are some highlights I love. When the Cerritos transformed into a Freedom-class starship, Tendi nerded out, explaining how a single nacelle ship goes to warp. Unfortunately, Freeman had to cut her off mid-lesson because they didn't have time for a nerd session. When the ship shifted to its Terran Empire version, that was cool, Shax lit up like a kid in a candy store, thrilled by the abundance of weapons, only for the weapon systems go offline, of course. Classic Trek humor. Ta'ana had me laughing out loud when she asked if there were any Kirk-style tricks they could use. Then Billups had Ollie, Zeus's granddaughter, hurl a lightning bolt at the Klingon ship, disabling its shields. This moment was a delightful callback to the original series episode Who Mourns for Adonais, when Apollo grabs the Enterprise. The constant transformations of the Cerritos into different starships classes were breathtaking. I counted 5 in total: Freedom class, Oberth class, Sovereign class, Galaxy class, and Miranda class. Boy, this guy knows his ships. The nostalgia of seeing all these iconic designs was overwhelming. Finally, the fan service reached its peak when Starbase 80 was repositioned to protect the rift, a brilliant nod to Deep Space Nine moving to guard the wormhole. In summary, Mike McMahon deserves an Oscar for crafting one of the best Star Trek episodes ever. The love and care he poured into this story shone through every scene. Lower Decks will truly be missed. And on that note, everybody, you know who else is going to miss it? Eve England out in Wales. Check this out. She prepared something. Let's see if we can pull this up. And by prepared, I mean actually baked something. Eve, you didn't know we were going to do this, did you? But check this out. Where is it? Oh, I can't find it. Well, let's try again.
For that, I have a question.
Yes.
Enterprise, that counts as a NAM, right? Because we've seen Enterprise.
You know, we've had that discussion before. So we'll get into that.
Who's here to make the homework?
I got this.
I know what he's going to say.
You have a can response for that.
We probably can't do the.
Whoa! What the heck is that?
We can't do volume on that.
It's great.
Okay. She made a gingerbread Cerritos with all of the main characters.
Smacks.
Eve, how long did it take you to do that?
Well, it was over a few days, but I did actually cheat and use a bit of super glue because I didn't have much time to wait for that. It's a set, but yeah. So I did
you used a subspace gluonic beam.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Amazing.
She had to make sure it didn't bifurcate.
That is amazing, Eve. That is amazing.
So we can't eat this?
I have actually got it here, but the batteries are starting to run out.
The batteries? It lights up?
Yeah, hang on. I'll see if I can bring it over. Hang on.
Oh my goodness. All right, well, while we wait.
That close.
Oh, okay. I guess that wasn't too tough.
That wasn't a long wait.
Holy man. Yeah.
Engage the core.
Wow. Yes.
That is amazing. Oh, look at the peppermint nacelle.
I
Yeah.
know, it's so cute.
One of the crew
Unbelievable.
fainted.
Love it.
That's amazing.
We should
You
hum the
are
theme
the
song
first
while she
place
does it.
winner.
Yeah.
You're the first place
Yeah.
winner with no other entries, but you're still the first place winner.
All right.
That's
Well,
wonderful.
Sirach
None of us
Lufton.
would enter because we knew Eve would win. So.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we're supporting you, Eve.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
Sirach, it's been a
That's-
long road. Any final thoughts on this episode and series?
Yeah, I love this series. Sad to see it go. You know, I feel like it can just kind of crank these episodes out endlessly or indefinitely. So, you know, the only thing I feel like that's shutting this show down is the powers that be of the business interests and all of those kinds of things. But as far as creativity, as far as production value, as far as entertainment, I think it's delivered what it promised to deliver. Even more so because I didn't expect it to be. I'm an adult watching an animated series and enjoying myself, so it hit the mark on that. So I'm really happy that Mike McMahon ventured out and delivered this really A quality show. I think it was carried in large part by the cast that has been phenomenal with their voice acting. Obviously, Tawny Newsome leading the crowd on that. I felt like she's just has her fingerprints all over this show, and you can't separate the show from her or vice versa. I feel like it's her show. I felt like Boimler has kind of growing into almost like a Riker type of character, and the beard itself is funny because it's similar to that. I love the Fleet magazine. I kind of want to read a Fleet magazine and see what that would look like. Like who would be on the cover? It would be like a Teen Bop Star Trek magazine. I kind of want to see that in real life. Star Trek theme that they used in this one was, harboring criminals, hand them over. You know, we've seen that Star Trek theme used over and over again, so they used it here for the finale. Yeah, I loved some of the lines in this episode. When the beluga said, "Hey, getting sprayed down, sign me up for that." I was laughing. It was hilarious. Some of the other lines, when he says at the end, Ransom says, "A little birdie told me," and Rutherford's like, "You mean Dr. Miglima?" I love those lines. I thought they were just great lines. Love to see the shots of them playing cards. Love to see the Mark Twain callback. That was one of my favorite moments of this series was the Mark Twain whole thing. Also loved is it a Kazon, like that character when he said Uzani when the light came over the mountain.
Oh, that's a Temerian.
Temerian, yeah. He had the funny lines. Jenza when the truth was uncovered. I could just see that. I can see Mike McMahon walking around the office saying that randomly to people, using those kinds of phraseology in any kind of real life situation. So very clever. The show's clever. The show is obviously been caretaken by people who love Star Trek, and you can see that love infused into the show, infused into the callbacks, into the jokes. So I think it's been done really well. I was a little sad to see Implant Rutherford go because I've grown accustomed to seeing him with that implant. And when he didn't have it, it kind of I'm like, who is this guy? You just get real used to certain things, just like Geordi and his visor. To me, this was like Geordi's visor, and I didn't really want to see him not have it. So, that even though that would be a great story to see how he behaves without it, but I saw a cut to Billups in the pool with the two belugas. I was like, what's he doing in there?
Whatever they let them.
Those guys are freaks.
Yeah. Yeah, I could tell. So just great jokes all together. The whole warp me Captain Freeman line, I like that one as well. Altogether, just a great show. You know, a lot of times it's you don't get a chance to say goodbyes because they pull shows sometimes without letting you know. At least they had the advance to be able to say, okay, we're going to have to say goodbye, so they can write down storylines, say their goodbyes. And so I'm grateful for that. I really hope the show gets picked up. I hope this is not the end of the show. We know Star Trek fans have a history of demanding things that they want and getting it. And I hope that the demand is there for this show going forward, that, you know, people want to see more of it. It's a little bit different these days with the format of dropping 10 episodes all on the streaming platform at once. So they have to learn how to hurdle those challenges in today's media landscape and how you distribute, these kinds of shows. So all of those challenges, COVID, all of those things that this show has really struggled through to be able to be a success is monumental. You know, to be able to withstand COVID and all of the restrictions in the business, a strike in the industry, just one thing after another. So this show has actually proven to be resilient. And I think that in the future, that resilience may prove to be the case for why it comes back. So keeping my fingers crossed. I could easily see a season 6 premiere, where the story goes on from here. They left it open. There's nothing permanently closed. And it's voiceover, so you can always do voiceovers. We saw, actors we haven't seen in years on this show doing voiceover work, like Jolene Blalock, Andrew Robinson, all these voices that we can just always see. So, love the show. Mike McMahon, home run with this show. I'm sorry that it didn't break the record for the longest running series, but that's still to be determined. So right now, they gave us 5 seasons of quality Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. A movie would be nuts. You were thinking of Kayshawn. The Temerian's name is Kayshawn, so that's that came from. Before we go, everybody, one final treat, at least for me. Who's got the most non-appearance mentions in the totality of Lower Decks?
I'm gonna guess Riker.
Okay. Anybody else?
Spock?
Yes, Spock, yeah.
Oh.
Got a lot.
It's actually James T. Kirk. You know how many he had? 13.
Wow.
Second is Mr. Spock with 12. They were neck and neck for 50 episodes, basically. And then just now in this week, Kirk got his 13th and Spock didn't. But there were weeks where they were being mentioned in the same episode. Third is Captain Picard with 8. The Enterprise, which Melissa mentioned, that's pretty unofficial. 8, because we weren't sure. Is that a person? Not really, but whatever. We like the Enterprise. So next is Janeway with 6, Riker with 5, Q with 5, Worf with 5, Data with 4, the EMH Doctor with 3, Quark with 3, Trip Tucker with 2, Khan with 2, O'Brien with 2, Geordi 2, Tasha Yar 2, Jadzia 2, Deanna Troi 2, Odo Tuvok with 2, Dr. Miglimo 2, Tom Paris. One was a Captain Proton mention, but that counts, right? Neelix, Tuvix, and Martok all had 2. I mean, we had a Jake Sisko with 1, and a whole ton of ones that I'm not going to go over. But this is definitely the most non-appearance. This had more non-appearance mentions than 173 episodes of Deep Space Nine. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Anyway, that's it for us. Thanks very much to Mike McMahon and company for just creating a series for the ages, a legendary series that we're going to watch a bunch of times over, especially Eve when we finish our Next Generation watch through, which will be in a year and a half. So thank you to Homer, Chris Garris out in Texas, TJ Jackson Bay out in Missouri, Carrie Schwent, a.k.a. Crafty Bear, Allison Leach Hyde in New Mexico, Eve England, who's tired out in Wales, Jason Oken, who loves Lower Decks more than any other series ever, except for Matlock, Melissa Longo, for myself, The Rock, Melissa Longo, and Aaron Eisenberg. Thank you all very much. We will see you next time. And until then, party with Lower Decks, and always remember the seventh rule.